We are in section 5, partners and suppliers dimension of the service level management practice. There will be 2 questions from this topic in the exam. Both questions will be at Bloom's level 2 of understanding. There are 2 things for us to pick up in this topic. First, the dependencies of the practice on third parties and what can partners and suppliers do to support this practice. Usually, service providers and consumers outsource some of their tasks to other third parties. And the same can happen for this practice also. The third party's dependencies information is required for service design of the SLA viability and for improvements. What that means is, if an organization engages a third party for this practice, they will have to understand the dependencies of the third parties. It could be, for example, the components that the third parties is creating for them, or the components that the third parties are managing the SLAs for. And though some of the activities of the practice can be delegated, the entire practice cannot be handed over to a third party. The ownership of the practice remains with the organization only. However, a lot of activities can be given to the third parties for them to perform. And this is usually done for standardized services with high volumes. And this can include the following, such as collecting customer requirements, meaning third parties can collect customer requirements for the practice of service level management. They can even participate in drafting and negotiating and signing of the SLA document. They can take part in the communication of the SLA to various stakeholders and also bring in the enablement of the SLA, meaning make the required changes to resources such as services and people to enable the SLA to function properly. However, the ownership of all this will remain with the organization and not with the third party. The third parties can also perform SLA review, the periodic review or an event-based review, and even take part in the prolongation of the SLA, meaning continuation of the SLA, and even withdrawal of the SLA when needed. And lastly, not the least, when it comes to multiple suppliers being integrated through a single integrator supplier for the organization or on behalf of the organization, then they can do this for this practice also, meaning an organization may appoint a service integration who can perform the service level management on behalf of all the other third parties that the organization is working with. But this is not such a common arrangement. Let's take a look at what can third parties really do with respect to this practice. Apart from the few things that we noted earlier, they may conduct satisfaction surveys for the service levels and collect data regarding the service quality, provide the required people and the tools, automation tools that is, and they can also develop the practice, manage the practice, execute the practice, though I mentioned earlier that the entire practice cannot be handed over to the third party. So there are a few things in this area in terms of developing, managing, and executing the practice. The first here is that suppliers can provide tools, suppliers and partners, that is. This will depend on the automation needs of the organization, and they may engage the supplier to provide those tools. Then, however, whenever tools are being procured, the service level manager or the service owner must work with the other practice managers, other practice teams before they decide on the tool requirements, or to discuss together on the tool requirements and then procure them from the third party. Because a value stream consists of many practices working together, and of which service level management would be just one practice. Therefore, it is important for all the practice teams and managers to collaborate when deciding for a tool and to procure it and use it. Also, the third parties can perform several service level management activities, such as conducting surveys, measuring and analyzing service quality and satisfaction of the users and customer, particularly the customer, that can help to optimize the provider resources. But these should be based on the provider's needs with data access as per provider's information security policies, meaning even though the third party may perform these activities, the organization should validate that these activities are being done correctly as per the organization's requirements, rather than taking everything the supplier does at face value or taking them for granted. Then there may be some niche suppliers who can provide consulting and advisory, particularly for developing the service level agreements, because they may have a good experience regarding the utility, warranty, and experience metrics, and can help to develop the SLA for specific services and for specific customers.